Elon Musk sacrifices his life to save soldier from exploding tank. The heat from the desert sun was unbearable, even for someone who had spent years designing rockets that withstood the vacuum of space. Elon Musk wiped the sweat from his brow as he stepped out of the armored military vehicle, the ground beneath his boots kicking up dust. Around him, rows of armed soldiers stood at attention, their expressions unreadable. The classified military base was nothing like SpaceX's headquarters in Hawthorne. Instead of sleek, futuristic engineering labs, there were bunkers, camouflage tents, and the distant rumble of artillery drills. A four-star general, Commander Briggs, stepped forward to greet him. "Mr. Musk, welcome to Outpost Echo." Elon extended a hand, gripping the general's firmly. "Let's get straight to it. Show me what we've got." Briggs nodded and gestured toward a hangar in the distance. "Right this way." As they walked, Elon noticed how tense the soldiers were. It wasn't just because he was here, something was off. Inside the hangar, a sleek, black drone hovered silently above the ground. Unlike traditional military drones, this one wasn't built for combat. It was a rescue prototype. The Falcon EX, one of the engineers explained. AI-powered extraction system, designed to evacuate wounded soldiers from active battlefields. Elon studied the drone carefully. "Autonomous AI navigation?" The engineer nodded. "Completely. It can detect injured personnel, assess damage, and extract them without human intervention." Elon nodded approvingly. This was the kind of technology that mattered, not just warfare but saving lives. But before he could respond, alarms blared across the base. A robotic voice echoed over the loudspeakers. "Perimeter breach. Hostile forces inbound." Elon's stomach tightened. General Briggs immediately switched to his radio. "All units, defensive positions. Get Musk to safety." Soldiers scrambled to their stations, grabbing their rifles. In the distance, the deafening roar of approaching enemy tanks filled the air. Elon turned to Briggs. "What the hell is happening?" Briggs' jaw clenched. "Looks like someone knew we were testing today." Elon's heart pounded. This wasn't just an inspection anymore. This was a war zone. The first explosion hit the far side of the base, sending a shockwave through the ground. Elon staggered back as debris rained down. Gunfire erupted. Soldiers took cover behind barricades, returning fire at the advancing enemy forces. The sky was thick with smoke, the air filled with the sharp scent of burning fuel. A tank rolled into view, smashing through the outer gates. Elon's instincts screamed at him to run. But then, through the chaos, he saw something. A young soldier, trapped beneath collapsed debris. His uniform was torn, blood seeping through his sleeve. His name tag read, J. Carter. He was right in the blast zone, directly next to a burning fuel truck. If the fire reached the truck's fuel reserves, the explosion would be catastrophic. The other soldiers saw it too. "We need to get him out of there," one of them shouted. But the commander shook his head. "There's no time. That thing is gonna blow. Fall back." The order was clear. "Leave him." Elon's breath hitched. He could walk away. He should walk away. But his feet wouldn't move. The soldier, barely conscious, looked up at him. And in that moment, Elon Musk made his decision. He ran straight into the fire. "Musk, get back here." The commander's voice was drowned out by the chaos. Elon sprinted toward the soldier, ducking beneath flying debris. His lungs burned from the smoke, but he didn't stop. Carter coughed, barely able to move. Elon dropped to his knees, grabbing the edge of the metal beam trapping Carter's leg. He gritted his teeth and pulled. Nothing. Too heavy. The fire was spreading fast. Elon reached for the emergency release mechanism on his prototype exosuit. This was something his team at Tesla had been developing for years, an experimental lightweight exoskeleton designed for emergency situations. He activated it. With a mechanical whir, the suit's servos engaged, enhancing his strength. He grabbed the beam again, and this time it moved. Carter gasped as his leg came free. "I've got you," Elon said, gripping him under the arms and pulling him up. The heat was unbearable now. The fire was licking at the fuel reserves. They had seconds left. Elon slung Carter's arm over his shoulder, his muscles screaming as he dragged him toward safety. The fuel truck ignited. The explosion was instantaneous, a blinding inferno of heat and force. There was no time to run. Elon did the only thing he could. He turned his body, shielding Carter with his exosuit. The shockwave hit like a freight train. Elon took the full force of the blast. The impact sent them flying. Everything went black. The battlefield was eerily silent. The fire still raged in the background, but the gunfire had stopped. Soldiers rushed forward. Medic! Get a medic! Carter was conscious, coughing up dust. Musk wasn't moving. His prototype suit was in ruins, the once polished metal now charred and cracked. A medic pressed 2 fingers to Musk's neck. Silence. Then, we've got a pulse. He's alive. Relief swept through the soldiers. The medics worked frantically, stabilizing Musk. But the damage was bad. They needed to get him to a hospital, fast. The news broke within minutes. Elon Musk severely injured in battlefield rescue. Musk saves soldier in heroic sacrifice. Condition unknown. The world held its breath. People prayed. Twitter exploded. Would he make it? Then, a single tweet from SpaceX's official account. Elon is awake. First words, tell Carter he still owes me a Tesla. The internet erupted. Cheers filled the streets. He had survived. And in that moment, Elon Musk wasn't just a billionaire, an innovator, or an entrepreneur. He was a hero. The rhythmic thrum of the helicopter's blades pulsed through Elon's body as he drifted in and out of consciousness. The pain was manageable now, dulled by the morphine the medics had given him, but exhaustion clung to him like a weight he couldn't shake. The past hour felt surreal. One moment, he had been inspecting advanced rescue drones, and the next, he was shielding a soldier from an explosion, taking the brunt of a blast that should have killed him. Through the haze, he heard voices. Some urgent, some controlled, but all filled with a tension that made his instincts sharpen. Vitals are stabilizing, but he's still weak, one of the medics said over the roar of the helicopter. We need to get him to a proper facility. His body took a severe impact. How the hell is he even still alive? Another voice asked, hushed, almost reverent. He's Elon Musk, someone muttered. I don't think normal rules apply to him. Elon let out a weak chuckle, barely opening his eyes. You guys talk like I'm an alien. One of the medics grinned down at him. Would explain a lot, sir. He tried to sit up, but a sharp pain lanced through his ribs, pinning him back down. Maybe I should just stick to rockets? Rockets don't explode in your face, huh? The medic said. Elon gave a half smirk. Oh, they definitely do. The banter eased the tension slightly, but reality still loomed. The helicopter was heading toward a military medical facility, and he had no doubt that the moment he landed, the real chaos would begin. The world knew what had happened. The headlines were probably already spinning out of control. He forced himself to focus, to think through the fog of medication. There were 2 priorities now, making sure Carter was okay and figuring out what the hell he was going to do next. How's Carter? Elon asked. Stable, a soldier near the cockpit answered. Bruised ribs, some burns, but nothing life-threatening. He's in the other chopper. Elon exhaled in relief. He hadn't risked his life for nothing. That alone made the pain worth it. As the helicopter began its descent, the radio crackled to life. We have reporters at the perimeter, a voice from the base informed the pilot. They got word Musk is inbound. Press is everywhere. Elon sighed. Of course they are. The medic closest to him raised an eyebrow. Want us to keep them away? Elon shook his head slightly. Oh, if I hide, the rumors get worse. Just help me stand when we land. I'd rather walk out than be carried. You sure about that? The medic asked, frowning. You took a massive hit. You shouldn't. I'm sure, Elon interrupted. Let's just get this over with. The helicopter touched down with a smooth but forceful landing, the doors swinging open as a gust of hot air rushed in. Outside, a wave of cameras flashed like a relentless storm, voices shouting over one another, demanding statements, asking if he was injured, if he would recover, if he had just saved a soldier's life. The soldiers around him hesitated, unsure how to proceed, but Elon pushed through the haze of pain and medication, forcing himself upright. The moment his boots hit the ground, The cameras doubled in intensity. He wasn't a billionaire CEO anymore. Not in this moment. He was a symbol. A hero. The thought made him grimace. He had never liked that word. He had just done what needed to be done. A general stepped forward, his face stern but relieved. "Mr. Musk, let's get you inside." Elon nodded, but before moving, he turned toward the reporters. Raising a hand to quiet the chaos, he spoke, his voice hoarse but steady. "Before anyone asks, I'm fine. More importantly, Carter is fine." He let the words settle for a beat. "I appreciate the concern, but right now, I need a nap." Laughter rippled through the crowd, breaking some of the tension. "That's all for now," he added, already turning toward the hospital doors. "Talk later." The moment he stepped inside, the weight of exhaustion finally won. His legs buckled, and the medics caught him before he collapsed. All right, one of them muttered. "That's enough heroics for today." Elon let himself be guided to a hospital bed, letting his eyes finally close. The world didn't slow down while he rested. If anything, it exploded. By the time he woke up, the internet had turned the event into an international sensation. His name was everywhere. Video footage from the battle had leaked, grainy, shaky shots of Musk sprinting toward the burning tank, dragging Carter to safety, shielding him from the blast with nothing but his own body and an experimental suit that had barely held together. Some called it reckless. Most called it legendary. His phone was overloaded with messages, emails, calls from heads of state, CEOs, celebrities. Even NASA had issued a statement praising his bravery. He scrolled through the news while still hooked up to Infor, his head still pounding. Elon Musk, from billionaire to battlefield hero. The day a tech mogul became a soldier. Did Musk just redefine what it means to be a leader? He sighed, rubbing his temple. This wasn't what he had planned when he agreed to visit the base. A soft knock at the door pulled him from his thoughts. Carter stepped inside, his arm wrapped in a bandage, moving stiffly but very much alive. His eyes carried the weight of a man who had come too close to death. "You look like hell," Carter said with a smirk. Elon gestured at himself. "You're one to talk." Carter chuckled, then hesitated. "Seriously though, I don't know how to thank you." "You don't need to," Elon replied simply. "Just do something good with the life you still have." Carter's expression turned serious. "I intend to." The pause. Then, quietly, "You're different than I expected." Elon raised an eyebrow. "And what exactly did you expect?" Carter shrugged. "I don't know. Some untouchable billionaire who'd be halfway to Mars before ever stepping onto a battlefield." Elon smirked. "I still plan on going to Mars." Carter shook his head. "Yeah, well, maybe we need people like you down here first." Elon didn't have an answer to that. The conversation was cut short by another knock. This time, it was General Briggs, looking more official than ever. "Musk," Briggs said, stepping inside. "You've got a decision to make." Elon exhaled. "That doesn't sound good." Briggs folded his arms. "The White House wants you in Washington. They're talking about giving you the highest civilian honor for what you did." Elon blinked. "I don't need a medal." Briggs smirked. "It's not about what you need. It's about what you did. And whether you like it or not, the world sees you differently now." Elon leaned back against the pillows, staring at the ceiling. He had just wanted to test some drones. Now, he was being asked to step into something much bigger. Carter watched him carefully. "What are you gonna do?" Elon sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Guess I should buy a suit." Briggs chuckled. "Good choice." Carter grinned. "And maybe build yourself a new exosuit while you're at it." That last one didn't exactly hold up. Elon smirked. "Already working on it?" Outside the hospital, the world waited. The story wasn't over. Not yet. And Elon Musk had never been one to walk away from a challenge. The days that followed were a blur of recovery, press statements, and political maneuvering. Elon Musk had faced global attention before, but this was different. He wasn't just trending because of a new Tesla model or an ambitious Mars plan. This time, his name was synonymous with heroism, sacrifice, and courage. Governments were reaching out. Presidents and prime ministers wanted to shake his hand. The military was offering commendations, and the media was painting him as something more than just a billionaire innovator. They were calling him a war hero. Elon sat in his hospital room, propped up against a stiff pillow, scrolling through his phone. News headlines continued to flash across the screen. Elon Musk nominated for Medal of Honor. A civilian first? Billionaire becomes battlefield legend. Will Musk accept the White House's invitation? Elon Musk and the soldier he saved. Carter speaks for the first time. He sighed, rubbing his forehead. This wasn't what he had signed up for. A knock at the door pulled him from his thoughts. General Briggs entered, his face as serious as ever. Behind him, a pair of White House officials in dark suits followed, carrying folders and tablets. Musk, Briggs greeted, stepping inside. You up for a conversation? Elon tossed his phone onto the nightstand. As long as it doesn't involve me running toward any more burning tanks. The general smirked but didn't deny that possibility outright. We need to talk about Washington. One of the White House representatives, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes, stepped forward. Mr. Musk, the president would like to formally invite you to a ceremony at the White House. Your actions on the battlefield have sparked something bigger than you realize. Elon raised an eyebrow. Bigger than dodging an explosion? Briggs chuckled. The woman remained stone-faced. Your bravery has ignited something within the American people. They see you as a leader, someone who doesn't just innovate for profit but truly understands sacrifice. They trust you? Elon exhaled. That's dangerous. The other official, a man in his 50s, nodded. It can be. But it can also be powerful. Elon knew where this was going before they even said it. They weren't just asking him to accept a medal. They wanted something more. You're going to suggest I do something bigger with this moment, Elon stated flatly, folding his arms. A foundation, an initiative, hell, maybe even a run for office? Briggs exchanged glances with the officials but didn't confirm or deny it outright. The woman cleared her throat. Mr. Musk, this isn't about politics. This is about leadership. You've built companies, pioneered industries, but what you did on that battlefield? She leaned forward. That wasn't business. That was humanity. Elon was silent for a long moment. Finally he sighed. You're asking me to be something more than just the guy who builds rockets and electric cars. Briggs nodded. The question is, are you willing? Elon stared at the ceiling. For years, he had focused on technology, progress, the future. But now, something inside him had changed. He had felt it in the moment he ran toward Carter. The need to act. The need to lead. He wasn't sure if he was ready. But then again, had he ever been ready for any of the things he'd accomplished? Elon Musk never backed down from a challenge. He glanced at Briggs. Fine. I'll go to Washington. Briggs grinned. Good. Because the world is already watching. The trip to Washington was unlike anything Elon had experienced before. The streets leading to the White House were lined with thousands of people holding signs that read things like Musk for the people, a leader we can trust, and courage over wealth. He hadn't expected that. He had thought this would be a simple award ceremony, a few handshakes, and maybe a speech. But this was a movement. The White House was filled with high-ranking officials, military personnel, and dignitaries. As Elon walked through the historic halls, he caught sight of framed photographs, presidents, war heroes, astronauts. He never imagined his face might one day be among them. Carter was already there, wearing his military dress uniform, his arms still in a sling but standing tall. When he saw Elon, he snapped into a salute. Elon snorted. Okay, that's weird. Don't do that. Carter grinned. Had to do it once. You technically outrank half the guys here now. That's even worse. The two exchanged a brief but meaningful handshake before stepping into the Grand East Room, where the ceremony was about to begin. The President of the United States stood at the podium, cameras flashing all around. Ladies and gentlemen, the President began, we are gathered here today to honor a man who, against all odds, showed the world what it means to be truly selfless. Elon shifted uncomfortably. He wasn't used to being the center of attention like this. The President continued. Elon Musk is many things: an entrepreneur, an innovator, a man who has reshaped industries. But on that battlefield, he was something even greater. A man who saw another in danger and did not hesitate to act. A man who risked his own life to save another, with no thought of reward or recognition. The room was silent, hanging on to every word. And for that act of extraordinary heroism, it is my honor to present him with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The audience erupted into applause. Elon blinked. This was real. He stepped forward as the president placed the medal around his neck. The weight of it was heavy, not just in gold but in meaning. He turned to face the crowd. Thousands watching in the room. Millions watching from home. He was supposed to give a speech. His throat tightened. For once, Elon Musk wasn't sure what to say. Then, after a long pause, he stepped to the microphone. I build things, he started simply. A few quiet chuckles from the crowd. I've spent my life trying to push humanity forward, trying to solve problems with technology. But standing here today, I realize something. He looked over at Carter, then at the soldiers in the audience. Technology doesn't make us great. People do. Courage does. The willingness to step forward, to do the right thing, even when it's terrifying. That's what makes a difference. The room was completely silent. I didn't wake up that morning thinking I was going to be in a war zone. I didn't think I'd be running toward an explosion. But when the moment came, there wasn't a decision to make. It was just the right thing to do. Elon's eyes scanned the crowd. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that leadership isn't about power or money. It's about responsibility. And now, I see that I have a new responsibility. The tension in the room shifted. People leaned forward. Elon took a deep breath. This isn't about me. This is about what comes next. And if I can do something meaningful with this moment, then I will. Applause erupted. Not polite applause. Thunderous applause. Elon exhaled slowly. The choice had already been made. He wasn't just a businessman anymore. He was something more. And the world was watching. The applause thundered through the grand hall, reverberating off the walls of the White House's East Room. Elon stood there, his hands resting at his sides, feeling the weight of the moment settle onto his shoulders. The Presidential Medal of Freedom was draped around his neck, its polished surface gleaming under the bright chandeliers. For a man who had spent his life pushing humanity toward the stars, toward the future, this was unfamiliar territory. He had launched rockets, built electric cars, developed AI, and revolutionized industries. But never had he been at the center of something like this. Not for an invention, not for innovation, but for a single act of courage. The room was still standing, people clapping so forcefully that some had started to cheer. Then, slowly, the applause died down. Elon turned back toward the president, shaking his hand once more. There was a nod of mutual understanding before he stepped back from the podium. As soon as the ceremony concluded, a flood of people surrounded him. Senators, military officials, world leaders, everyone wanted a moment with him. Carter was the first to reach him, grinning as he clapped Elon on the back. Not bad for a guy who wasn't even supposed to be in a war zone, Carter joked. Elon smirked, shaking his head. I came to look at drones. Ended up dodging explosions. That escalated quickly. Carter's expression sobered slightly. Jokes aside, man, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. You don't owe me anything, Elon said, serious now. Just do something good with it. Carter nodded. I will. As they spoke, the press swarmed just outside the barrier of security agents. Their cameras flashed, their voices rising in a chaotic mix of questions. Mr. Musk, are you considering a role in government? Elon, do you see yourself becoming a political leader after this? Would you be open to a defense initiative based on your AI technologies? How has this experience changed your outlook on global conflict? Elon sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. I don't do politics, he muttered. Carter chuckled. Yeah? Good luck with that. The world just saw you become a hero. You think they're just going to let you go back to tweeting memes and building rockets? Elon smirked. That's the plan. That plan's dead, buddy. Before he could respond, a high-ranking military official approached, a stern look on his face. Mr. Musk, the president would like to speak with you privately. Elon raised an eyebrow. Guess I don't have a choice, huh? The officer smiled slightly. Not really, sir. Elon exhaled. Fine. Lead the way. Carter gave him a knowing look. This is just the beginning. Elon rolled his eyes but followed the officer through the winding halls of the White House. He'd been here before, years ago, during policy discussions on renewable energy and space initiatives, but this was different. The room they entered was smaller, more intimate, designed for high-level discussions away from the public eye. The president stood near a desk, arms crossed, watching as Elon entered. "Take a seat," the president offered, gesturing to the chair opposite him. Elon sat, leaning back slightly, his muscles still aching from the battlefield. "You've made quite the impact," the president said, studying him carefully. Elon shrugged. "Wasn't exactly my intention." "Maybe not," the president acknowledged. "But the world doesn't care about intentions. They care about moments. And what you did out there, that was a moment that people won't forget." Elon remained silent, letting the president continue. "I'll get to the point," the president said, clasping his hands together. "You have influence, more than most world leaders. People believe in you. They see you as someone who doesn't just talk, but acts. And right now, we need that kind of leadership." Elon narrowed his eyes slightly. "Are you asking me to run for office?" The president smirked. "Not yet. But I'm asking you to use your voice. You've seen firsthand what's happening out there. You know the gaps in technology, the weaknesses in our systems. You could help fix them." Elon tapped his fingers against the armrest of his chair, thinking. "I build things," he said finally. "That's what I do. I'm not a politician." The president nodded. "Exactly. And maybe that's why people trust you. Because you're not like the rest of us." Silence stretched between them. Elon exhaled. "What are you suggesting?" "Work with us. Not as a politician, not as a government official, but as an innovator. Help us develop better technologies for rescue missions, battlefield safety, humanitarian efforts. Take what you've built at Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and apply it to something that could change the way wars are fought, or better yet, prevent them." Elon's jaw tensed. "You want me to build weapons?" The president shook his head. "No. I want you to build solutions. You've already proven that technology can save lives. Imagine what you could do if you had the full support of the government backing those efforts." Elon leaned back, considering. This was bigger than he had expected. He had come here to accept an award, maybe give a speech, and then disappear back into his world of rockets and AI. But now, he was staring at a path he hadn't seen coming. A path where he could actually make a difference in ways he had never considered before. He looked the president in the eye. "I don't make decisions lightly. I know. If I do this, I do it my way. No red tape, no bureaucratic nonsense slowing things down." The president chuckled. "I'd expect nothing less." Elon exhaled through his nose. "Fine. I'll think about it." The president smirked. "That's all I needed to hear." As Elon stood to leave, the president added one last thing. "Just one more question." Elon turned back. "Yeah. Are you sure you don't want to run for office?" Elon laughed. 100%. Give it time." Elon shook his head as he walked out. That would never happen. Or so he thought. The next morning, the world was still buzzing. Elon Musk had gone from being the man who wanted to take humanity to Mars to the man who had risked his life to save a soldier. News outlets were already speculating about his future in leadership. Some were even calling for him to consider running for president. The irony wasn't lost on him. As he sat in his private jet, flying back toward California, he scrolled through the messages on his phone. Some were from world leaders. Others were from people he had never met, thanking him for what he had done. And then a text from Carter. "Still owe you that Tesla?" Elon chuckled. He stared out the window, watching the clouds drift below. He had always thought his greatest impact would be through technology, through space travel, through innovation. But maybe, just maybe, his greatest impact was yet to come. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't know what the future held. But he was ready for it. The flight back to California was quiet, but Elon Musk's mind was anything but. He sat reclined in his seat, the soft hum of the engines barely registering as his thoughts raced. The last few days had been a blur of explosions, heroism, and political offers that he hadn't asked for. But now, as he stared out the window at the clouds below, he knew things would never be the same. His phone vibrated on the armrest. Another flood of messages. He glanced at the screen. Bill Gates, that was insane. Let's talk soon. Mark Zuckerberg, world's watching man. What's next? Tim Cook, unbelievable story. We should collaborate on something impactful. Jeff Bezos, call me when you land. I have an idea. Elon smirked. Every billionaire on the planet wanted a piece of him now. But that wasn't what interested him. He scrolled further. A message from his mother, May Musk. You scared the hell out of me. Don't ever do that again. Proud of you. He smiled, typing back. Love you. No promises. And then, another message. From General Briggs. Subject. Urgent, proposal for immediate review. Elon sighed. He wasn't sure he wanted to open it, but curiosity won out. The email was brief, but the contents hit hard. Mr. Musk. Following our conversation at the White House, the Defense Department is fast-tracking a new initiative focused on integrating advanced AI and robotics for non-lethal battlefield solutions. Your leadership would be invaluable in directing this project. We need minds like yours, not just for military purposes, but to prevent future conflicts altogether. The President has personally requested that you be briefed on this ASAP. If you agree, expect a classified intelligence meeting within 48 hours. Time is of the essence. Respectfully, General Briggs. Elon let the phone drop onto his lap, staring at the ceiling of the jet. 2 days ago, he had been just an entrepreneur, a tech visionary, a billionaire with big ideas. Now, he was being asked to shape the future of warfare. He took a deep breath, rubbing his temple. Guess I'm not getting a vacation, he muttered. When the plane touched down at LAX, the reality of his new status hit him like a tidal wave. The private runway had been cleared except for a line of military SUVs, a swarm of security, and what looked like several dozen reporters stationed just outside the restricted area. As the stairs lowered, his security team, led by his head of personal protection, Gavin Stokes, stepped onto the tarmac, scanning the surroundings. Gavin nodded toward the armored vehicles waiting nearby. White House sent an escort. Your schedule just got interesting, Elon sighed, grabbing his sunglasses and putting them on. Yeah, seems to be a trend lately. As he descended the stairs, the shouting began. Mr. Musk, will you be working with the military full-time? Elon, do you see yourself taking on a government position? Are you considering running for office? What's your response to the #Musk for President campaign? He hesitated for a split second. Musk for president? Oh hell no. Shaking his head, he ignored the reporters and walked straight toward the convoy. As soon as he was inside the vehicle, Gavin slid in beside him, closing the door. You've seen the news? Gavin asked. I'd have to be blind not to. The public's losing their minds. You're trending everywhere. People are calling you the reluctant leader. Elon groaned. Sounds like a bad movie title. Gavin chuckled. Maybe, but it's real. The public trusts you in a way they don't trust politicians. Elon leaned his head against the seat. That's a problem. Gavin raised an eyebrow. Or an opportunity. Elon exhaled, tapping his fingers on the door panel. Where are we heading? Gavin checked his phone. The Skunkworks facility in Nevada. The military's setting up a private briefing for you. Elon frowned. Wait, Lockheed Skunkworks? Yeah. Elon's mind immediately shifted. Skunkworks was where some of the most advanced aerospace technology in history had been developed. If they were calling him there, it wasn't just for a casual chat. Something big was happening, and they wanted him involved. The flight to Nevada was quick. The facility, hidden deep in the desert, was a fortress of secrecy, surrounded by miles of restricted airspace, satellite jamming technology, and the kind of security that made Area 51 look like an amusement park. As the SUV pulled through the gates, Elon saw a mix of military personnel and aerospace engineers waiting for him. General Briggs stood at the front, arms crossed. Beside him, a man in a sleek navy suit, someone with the unmistakable posture of an intelligence operative. Elon stepped out of the car, glancing around. This is dramatic. Briggs smirked. You have no idea. They led him inside, past multiple security checkpoints, retinal scanners, biometric clearances. Finally, they arrived in a high-tech briefing room. A large screen flickered to life, displaying satellite imagery, technical schematics, and live battlefield analytics. Briggs motioned for Elon to sit. "You're about to see something that only a handful of people on the planet know exists?" Elon folded his arms. "All right. Impress me." The intelligence officer stepped forward. 3 weeks ago, one of our surveillance satellites picked up an anomaly in Eastern Europe. At first, we thought it was a glitch. But then, he clicked a button. The satellite feed zoomed in, revealing something enormous buried beneath a mountain. Elon's eyes narrowed. "That looks like a facility," Briggs finished. "A hidden military base. One that shouldn't exist." Elon leaned forward. "Whose?" Briggs hesitated. "That's the problem. We don't know." Elon's pulse picked up. "This isn't just another rogue nation, is it?" The intelligence officer shook his head. "No. Whoever built this, they're operating at a technological level far beyond anything we've encountered before." Elon tapped the table. "Define far beyond." Briggs exhaled. "We sent in a recon drone. It never came back. Our best AI systems can't crack their encryption. And the energy signatures we've detected? They don't match anything in our global database." Elon sat back, processing. "You're telling me someone has tech more advanced than the US military?" Silence. Then Briggs said, "That's why we need you." Elon laughed, shaking his head. "You think I can just waltz in and figure this out?" Briggs looked him dead in the eye. "Yes." The intelligence officer added, "Your work with AI, aerospace, and energy tech makes you uniquely qualified. We need to understand what we're dealing with before it's too late." Elon rubbed his face. "And if I say no?" Briggs shrugged. "You won't." Elon exhaled. Damn it. He was right. After a moment, Elon sighed. "Fine. But if I figure this out, I want full transparency. No classified nonsense." Briggs smirked. "I'll see what I can do." Elon pointed at him. "That's what politicians say when they're lying." Briggs just laughed. Elon looked back at the satellite image. Something was off about this entire situation. He had planned to spend the next few months working on Mars missions. Instead, he was about to dive headfirst into one of the biggest technological mysteries in history. And deep down he knew, this was only the beginning. Elon leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen displaying the satellite images of the mysterious facility buried beneath the mountain. His mind was already racing through possibilities, analyzing the situation from every possible angle. Everything about this was wrong. If there was a secret technological superpower out there, one that even the US military couldn't track or identify, it meant one of two things. Either someone was light years ahead of the world's most advanced nations, or something entirely different was going on. Elon glanced at General Briggs. "You sure this isn't some deep black Pentagon project you guys lost track of?" Briggs shook his head. "I'd bet my career on it. This isn't ours. It isn't anyone's. At least, no one we recognize." Elon exhaled, rubbing his forehead. "That's even worse." The intelligence officer, who still hadn't introduced himself, tapped the screen. "We need to get inside. Whatever is in that facility, it's decades ahead of what we understand. And if it's hostile, we're already behind." Elon nodded slowly. He wasn't one for military operations, but this wasn't just about war. This was about knowledge. He studied the satellite images again. The design of the facility was too precise, too efficient. Unlike typical military bases, which often grew over time with added structures, this was one solid piece of architecture, almost like a fortress carved from the mountain itself. His eyes narrowed. "That's not a standard base. That's a bunker built to withstand an extinction-level event." Briggs folded his arms. "That's our concern. Whatever's inside, it wasn't just meant to be protected from outsiders. It was meant to survive something." Elon pointed at the heat signatures on the map. "How deep does it go?" The intelligence officer tapped a few buttons, zooming in on the data. "Best guess? At least 3 miles underground. Could be more, but our scans get scrambled beyond that depth." Elon exhaled sharply. "Jesus. That's not a bunker. That's a damn city. Briggs nodded. And we need to know who built it? Elon drummed his fingers on the table, thinking. He had no military experience. He built rockets, AI, and cars, not infiltration strategies. But if the world's leading intelligence agencies were stumped, they needed a different approach. Something unpredictable. Something only he could bring. All right, Elon finally said, standing up. I'll help. But I'm doing it my way. Briggs exchanged glances with the intelligence officer. Define your way. Elon smirked. We're not sending in soldiers. We're sending in machines. Briggs raised an eyebrow. You're talking drones? Elon nodded. Not just drones, Tesla's fully autonomous AI systems, Neuralink-assisted reconnaissance, and SpaceX's high-altitude surveillance tech. We're going to map that place out without stepping a single boot inside. Briggs looked impressed. You think it'll work? Elon grinned. I don't think. I know. The intelligence officer finally spoke again. How fast can you set this up? Elon cracked his knuckles. Give me 48 hours. Briggs chuckled. You really don't sleep, do you? Elon smirked. Not when I'm having fun. 48 hours later, the operation begins. Inside SpaceX's R&D hangar, the atmosphere was electric. Engineers, technicians, and AI specialists swarmed the room, moving between holographic displays, neural interface test rigs, and quantum computing hubs. The mission was simple: use Elon's most advanced technology to infiltrate the untraceable base. But simple didn't mean easy. At the center of the hangar, a sleek, jet-black drone hovered midair, its smooth, curved surface reflecting the overhead lights. It was unlike anything the military had, because it wasn't designed for war. It was built for discovery. Elon stood with his arms crossed, watching as his lead AI scientist, Dr. Evelyn Park, finalized the uplink. Neuralink connection established, she announced, tapping away at a holographic control interface. The drone is fully responsive. A nearby technician nodded. All Tesla Vision protocols online. Machine learning model is adapting in real time. Briggs and the intelligence officer, now officially introduced as Director Holt from the CIA, observed the scene. This thing better be as good as you say, Musk, Holt muttered. Elon didn't look away from the drone. Trust me. This is the most advanced piece of autonomous AI on the planet. Park gave a nod to the control team. Initiating deployment. The drone's humming intensified, its AI-driven thrusters adjusting in real time. It wasn't just reacting to the environment, it was thinking, predicting variables, learning as it moved. Uplink with SpaceX Starlink satellites confirmed, the communications officer reported. We have global visibility. Elon smirked. All right, let's go knock on their front door. Mission: deep infiltration. As the drone soared high into the stratosphere, it moved faster than any known military reconnaissance vehicle. Real-time thermal imaging, LiDAR scanning, and electromagnetic pulse tracking fed directly into SpaceX's control center. The entire facility watched as it descended toward the hidden base. Elon sat in the control chair, Neuralink's direct data stream linking him to the drone's visual and sensory feedback. It was like he was there himself. All right, he muttered. Let's see what you're hiding. The drone's sensors penetrated deeper than any previous scan attempt. As expected, the base extended miles underground, but what they didn't expect was the energy signature coming from the lowest level. Elon's hands clenched the armrests. That's not nuclear. That's something else. Park's voice was tense. I'm seeing something that doesn't make sense. The holographic map flickered, trying to interpret the readings. At the core of the underground facility, a strange structure appeared on screen. It wasn't man-made. It wasn't natural. It was something else. Briggs took a step closer. What the hell is that? Holt's face turned pale. Is that an artifact? Elon felt a chill run down his spine. Zoom in, he ordered. The drone's imaging sharpened, focusing on the structure. The walls of the chamber were metallic, but not in any known alloy composition. And at the very center, pulsing with an almost organic rhythm, was a black sphere, levitating 2 feet off the ground. The energy readings went wild. Park's hands shook. Sir, we need to pull the drone back. Something's interfering with the AI. Elon's Neuralink feed glitched, and for the first time, the AI-driven drone disobeyed a direct command. Instead of retreating, it moved closer, as if it was being pulled in. The holographic feed flashed static. The drone's systems began shutting down, one by one. Elon felt something strange in his mind, like an unfamiliar presence brushing against his consciousness. And then, the drone's cameras captured one last thing before the feed cut to black. A symbol etched into the walls of the chamber. A symbol that Elon had seen before. But not on Earth. No, this was something he had encountered in deep space telemetry from Mars. His breath caught in his throat. This wasn't just a military secret. This was something else entirely. And whoever had built this underground facility, they weren't just hiding from the world. They were protecting something. Or worse, keeping something locked away. Elon's pulse thundered in his ears as the holographic feed blinked to black. The control room went dead silent, everyone staring at the screen that had just moments ago shown something impossible. The levitating black sphere. The alien symbol etched into the walls. The anomalous energy signature that had fried his drone's AI in real time. This wasn't just a hidden military installation. This was something much, much bigger. Park was the first to break the silence. Her fingers moved frantically across the holographic keyboard, trying to re-establish the drone's uplink. We've lost connection. AI subroutines are unresponsive. Briggs swore under his breath. Musk, what the hell did we just see? Elon didn't answer immediately. His mind was already moving faster than his mouth could keep up, processing, analyzing, piecing together fragments of information from his past research. The symbol. He had seen it before. Years ago. Back when SpaceX had first started deep space telemetry scans on Mars. The first human-led satellite orbiting the red planet had picked up a faint electromagnetic pattern, barely readable, buried beneath miles of Martian rock. But this was the same signature. And it wasn't on Mars. It was here, on Earth. Briggs leaned over the console, his expression sharp. Musk, if you know something, now's the time to share. Elon exhaled, rubbing his temple. This isn't human. Silence. Then Holt, the CIA director, scoffed. Excuse me? Elon turned toward him. You heard me. Whatever's inside that base. We didn't build it. No country on this planet built it. Briggs ran a hand over his face. Jesus Christ. Holt, ever the skeptic, shook his head. All right, let's not jump to sci-fi conclusions. There's no proof of extraterrestrial structures on Earth. Elon cut him off. Then explain that symbol. Explain why a drone built with cutting-edge AI just went dark. Explain why the energy signature is unlike anything in recorded history. Holt hesitated, jaw tightening. Because he had no explanation. Elon pushed off the control panel and started pacing. Look, I've spent my entire career thinking about the future of humanity, about getting us to Mars, beyond Mars, and ensuring we don't end up as just another species lost to history. But this? He gestured toward the black screen. This changes everything. Park swallowed hard, eyes darting between Elon and the general. Sir, if we can't control the AI, then sending anything else in is a risk? Briggs exhaled slowly. Then we go in ourselves? Elon stopped pacing. Everyone in the room turned to stare at the general. You're not serious, Holt said flatly. Briggs' face was carved from stone. We can't leave it alone. We've already provoked a reaction just by sending a drone. Whoever, or whatever, is down there, they know we're watching? Elon's mind spun. A ground operation. A team of soldiers infiltrating an unknown structure that may not even be human-made. A million things could go wrong. Hell, they already had. But Elon knew one thing for sure. He had to see it for himself. I'm going, he said before he even realized the words had left his mouth. Briggs frowned. Like hell you are. Elon turned to him. I've already been closer to it than anyone else. If I don't go, you'll have a bunch of soldiers walking into something they don't understand. At least let me take point on the tech. Briggs hesitated, clearly torn. You're not a soldier, Musk. Elon smirked. Yeah, well, I wasn't a firefighter either, but that didn't stop me from running into an explosion to save Carter. Carter, who had been silent until now, grinned from the back of the room. "He's got a point, sir." Briggs exhaled sharply. "Fine. But you follow orders. No heroics this time." Elon extended his hand. "Deal." They shook on it. And just like that, the mission was set. Mission briefing, 12 hours later. The transport plane roared through the night sky, cutting across the Nevada desert under a cloak of secrecy. Inside, a team of elite operatives sat in grim silence, each one outfitted in cutting-edge exosuits designed for extreme environmental conditions. And among them? Elon Musk. He sat across from Carter, adjusting the modified Tesla-designed combat helmet he had insisted on bringing. "This is insane," Carter muttered, shaking his head. "You're a billionaire. You could be sitting on a yacht right now. Instead, you're about to walk into a potentially non-human facility under a mountain." Elon smirked. "Yachts are boring." Carter chuckled but didn't push further. The tension in the cabin was thick enough to cut with a knife. Briggs stood at the front, voice firm as he addressed the team. "Our objective is simple. Enter the facility, assess the threat, and extract intelligence. No unnecessary engagements. We do not fire unless fired upon. Is that understood?" A chorus of "Sir," echoed through the plane. Briggs nodded. "Good. We land in 5. Elon took a deep breath, his heart pounding. This was it. Ground Zero, entering the unknown. The moment they touched down, everything felt different. The mountain loomed ahead, its surface smooth and unnatural, as if it had been carved rather than formed naturally. The team moved in silence, their visors displaying real-time HUD analytics. Elon kept close to Carter and Briggs, watching as the entrance to the facility came into view. It was a massive metallic doorway, seamlessly embedded into the mountain. No seams, no hinges, no visible way to open it, until it opened on its own. A low, vibrating hum filled the air. The ground trembled beneath their feet. Slowly, the doorway split apart, revealing a dark corridor leading downward. Briggs motioned for silence, raising his fist. The team froze. "Movement detected," one of the soldiers whispered through comms. Elon's Neuralink-enhanced HUD adjusted, analyzing the shadows ahead. And then, something moved. A shape, humanoid but taller, thinner, unnatural. It was standing at the far end of the corridor, watching them. Not attacking, just waiting. Elon's mouth went dry. The team's weapons were raised, locked on target. Briggs whispered, "Hold fire." Elon took a step forward, ignoring every instinct telling him to run. "Hello," he called out. The figure tilted its head. And then, for the first time, it spoke. But not in words. Directly into Elon's mind. "You were not meant to find us." A sharp, electric shock ran through his brain, as if something was scanning his consciousness. Elon stumbled back, gasping. The soldiers around him tensed, fingers on triggers. And yet, here you are. The air crackled with energy. And then, without warning, everything went black.